Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. From the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now, here's your host, Art Carlson.
All right, how's that? Everybody hear me now? Okay, cool. There, we've got audio here. I'm using my USB microphone. So, everybody hear me now? All right. Thanks, Steve. Flying with Stan, welcome to the show. All right, let's make that announcement again. Uh, like I said just a few minutes ago, today was my grandfather Arnold Carlson's birthday. He would have been 123 today. That was back in 1896. And I was discussing what was going on back in the United States then. Grover Cleveland was president, and he was term limited. So William McKinley ran, and he defeated William Jennings Bryan. And William McKinley was governor of Ohio, who was later assassinated very early into his second term. What else was going on in the United States then? The state of Colorado was only 20 years old. And the same with the telephone. Telephone was only 20 years old. Very few people had a phone. Only the people that lived in major cities owned a telephone, which was very interesting. No manned flight, no heavier than aircraft other than hot air balloons and helium or hydrogen balloons. What else was going on? The automobile was in its infancy. Henry Ford was just building his first automobile, which was called the quadricycle. And Daimler, he was working on his first automobile around that time too. What else was going? Oh, only 45 states in the Union. Yes, that was before Alaska, Hawaii, Arizona, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. And this was also, there were only 3 battleships in the U.S. Navy. And those ships were the USS Texas, Indiana, and Maine. And of course, we all know what happened 2 years later in Havana Harbor. USS Maine was, destroyed by an explosion in Havana Harbor. Back then, everybody was saying it was a mine planted by the Spanish government. But in all likelihood, it was probably a spontaneous ignition in the coal bunkers, because back then battleships ran on coal instead of oil. Yeah, and think of that. Oil was relatively a new product. I mean, it had been around for 20 or 30 years, but wasn't really used as a fuel yet, which was interesting. Coal was used to heat buildings, so coal was the major source of power back then. All right, and so let's hop right in. Today we're going to talk about Dudley Brown is in the news today. He's back at it. The other topic we're going to talk about is libertarians. Are they misfits, or are they Democrats in sheep's clothing? We'll talk about that. Uh, okay, let's get back to Dudley Brown. Well, Dudley Brown, he's the director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners and North American or National uh, Association of Gun Rights. He's at it again. He's up to his old shenanigans. Now, if you don't know, here in Colorado, where the Democrats control both houses and the governorship, they are now in session, and they are considering a bill which is called the Red Flag Bill. The Red Flag Bill is about, uh, it's basically gun confiscation. And what it is it's under the disguise of preventing mentally ill people from possessing firearms. And basically anybody from a disgruntled girlfriend or wife could call the police and say, hey, so and so has a gun, and I don't think he's all there upstairs. And they could come over and they could confiscate your guns without any due process. And also, then you have like months of wrangling with the judge to try to get your guns back. So this is a real threat to gun owners. So here's the deal. Dudley Brown is going around sending out emails and made a posting on Facebook that he listed several Republicans who voted for the Red Flag Bill, which is totally false. I just saw a posting by State Representative Lois Landgraf, a Republican, who pointed out that no Republican voted for this bill. This bill passed on a party line vote, and Dudley Brown is back to lying again. So he's one of many reasons why this state is blue now. Now, Dudley Brown, does he really care about the Second Amendment? Maybe he did at first, but then when we saw the millions of dollars flowing into his organization, he probably just said, you know what? If I scare enough people, I could get more money. So it's to his advantage to try to get Democrats elected. Then that way he could send out mailers saying, oh my God, these Democrats, they're going to take your guns away. And people just send him money. So that's part of the reason why I want this show. I want to inform people, and I want to educate people on what's going on, and to let people know who are who's the real deal and who's a charlatan. So I just wish people would just stop aligning with Dudley Brown and stop, making donations to his organization, and then he'll go away. But he's able to convince people that he's right and the rest of us are wrong. So I want to talk about 3 or 4 main reasons that probably precipitated the state of Colorado going blue. Number 1 would be vote harvesting. That's something the Republicans failed to do this cycle. They were all about, just getting their message out and maybe people will vote their way. Well, what the Democrats did was they called people and they went around precincts to pick up people's ballots. And what they would do is, if they hadn't filled it out, they would ask them questions like, how do you feel about maternity leave? How do you feel about global warming? Or how do you feel about the minimum wage? And so forth. And then people will listen, and then that's probably, and they weren't going after Democrats, they were going after unaffiliates to get them to fill out their ballots their way. The other thing that caused this is, Colorado's economy is booming. So people are moving in from states where Democrats control and their economies suck. So they come here, and what do? They vote the same way they did back in the state they just screwed up to come here. And these people, they just don't get it. It's like, maybe that's why your state is so screwed up. Stop voting that way. Be informed. Don't watch the network news or the local news. Go to other sources and don't just listen to one side. Listen to all sides. Fox News is one of them. I mean, it gives you a different view. Go on Young Turks and so forth. Go do a little bit of research. And that's the one great thing about the internet, where people could, go out and get informed and make their votes based upon the information they get. Number 3, we got Dudley Brown, and that's caused a rift within the Republican Party. So we got two sides in the party fighting against each other rather than working with each other to our ultimate goal. But Dudley Brown's not interested in that. He just wants money. And that's what drives me crazy. And the fourth thing is libertarians. Libertarians they're kind of like burros. I mean, they are stubborn. I don't know. I think they are deficient in math or something. They can't figure out, well, gee, nobody's voting for us. Well, why don't we work with this group that had, they don't want to work with Republicans. They want 100% or nothing. And their thinking is, well, maybe a few years under Democrat control, maybe people will realize that it's not working and they'll start voting for them. Not going to happen. I mean, look at California and look at some of the other Democrat-controlled areas. Libertarians aren't winning there. You might get an occasional libertarian to win, like Gary Johnson, but he ran as a Republican when he was governor of New Mexico. That idiot Jesse Ventura, he was a one-term governor of Minnesota. Total idiot. And he couldn't get anything done because Democrats didn't want to work with him, and the Republicans didn't want to work with him, and so nothing really got done, and he just decided, I'm not going to run again. And then later on, he just turned out to be a weird, overweight, balding crackpot, making up stories about a sniper, and defamed him, and sued his widow, and oh boy, it was just terrible, 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 terrible. So, Steve, if you are interested to jump in for just a little bit, you are welcome to, let me know in the comment section. And what I'll do is I will give you the code to, to come on the show, and we'll get you on, and we'll have a little bit of back and forth or so. And what I'll do is I'll private message you on Facebook. All right. So this leads me into our next topic. Libertarians. We were talking about libertarians, about how stubborn they are, and they just don't get it. And what they end up doing is that they will run a candidate in a competitive district. All right, that's fine, Steve. We'll do that. That works out, no problem. So they'll run a candidate in a competitive district. Well, they're only going to see you from the neck up, Steve. Doesn't matter. And if you're in your pajamas this late in the day, and what they end up doing is libertarians will peel off enough votes from Republicans to hand the election over to the Democrats. Now, they'll always tell you, no, we split the vote evenly, which is a bunch of balonies, because people who vote Democrat vote solid Democrat. They're not even going to vote Libertarian. Otherwise, you would see in those competitive races that Republicans would end up winning. So that logic doesn't work there at all. So their logic is faulty all the way around. Now, libertarians are kind of hard to put on a scale of right to left, and that's how you would base a party or an ideology on what their ultimate goal is. Now, libertarians, they want less government. I mean, they really want less government, to the point where they're almost wanting no government. So they are far on the right, but they are not conservative in the sense of they're liberal on social issues. They are for open borders. They think open borders, well, we ought to let the market dictate who comes in, goes. No, that's just not how it's done. And they're very liberal on drugs. They say, hey, as long as they're not harming anyone else. In a sense, I'm that way, but you know what? We gotta have, limits, or because we gotta think about the public, because then we'll have what we have here in Denver, where we have a bunch of addicts who are homeless, living on the street, panhandling, and hassling people who work downtown or people who are shopping. And so, and they're and when it comes to abortion, they are middle of the road on that. They are not. They say, hey, government shouldn't be involved in that, and to some extent. But however, I would like it to be left up to the states to decide if abortion is legal or illegal. Let that be up to the people in that state. And it shouldn't be left up to the federal government for things like that. And besides, that whole thing was made up out of thin air by saying, well, it's all about privacy. Now, how is that privacy? I mean, it's just another form of murder. You are killing a human being, an innocent human being. It's a whole lot different than the death penalty. Death penalty is a whole different thing, because a lot of libertarians and liberals will say, well, it's no different than the death penalty. No, it isn't. Death penalty is all about retribution. And retribution is about giving up something of similar value that you have taken from someone else. Say you stole a car, or you stole some money. Well, the penalty is, all right, well, you forfeit X amount of time that's in the value of the item or money that you've taken. Rape should be almost a life sentence right there, because you have violated a woman, you physically assaulted her, and that's where the severity goes up, up, up. And when you take someone's life in the commission of a crime or in a heat of passion, well, then you forfeit your life. And that's how it's always been, and that's how it's all. And all these do-gooder liberals think, oh, why not just give them life in prison? Well, life in prison would be, pretty bad way to go. But however, that's not on par. They're still alive. The person they killed isn't coming back, and they haven't given up something that's of equal value to that person's life. And everybody's always saying, well, it's not a deterrent. Well, it's not about deterrence. It's about, the balance of justice. In one respect, it is a deterrent, because, all right, in the wake of gangs, well, a drug lord could still run his operation even from prison, and actually live fairly well in prison. They get a lot of really good privileges, and because, well, they've got their own people inside prison that make sure that they get what they need, and such as contraband like cigarettes, drugs, cell phones, sex, and they could still run their operation from within prison until they are finally released from prison. Case in point, we just had a murder several years ago of a witness to a murder, Javad Marshall Field, and his fiancée, Vivian Wolf. And they were involved, they witnessed the murder, and they were gunned down in front of their home, not far from where I lived in Aurora, Colorado here. And they caught the guys, and 2 of them are now on death row. However, now that the Democrats control both houses and the governorship, they most likely will never be executed. We have a man right now who was set to be executed, I think about 2 or 3 years ago during Hickenlooper's administration, and he basically put a permanent stay on Nathan Dunlap's execution, and that saved his life. And that was a heinous crime that he committed, where he executed his former workers at a Chuck E. Cheese in Aurora, Colorado, back in the 80s. I think it was 80, somewhere around 84, 85, 86, somewhere in that area. And that was not far from where I live. But the 2 guys that executed Javad Marshall Field, well, his mother is now a state senator. And what had happened there was we had a state representative who, well, he really screwed up. He exposed himself at a restaurant to one of his, I think, colleagues, or not his girlfriend, but anyway, so he had to resign. So he was replaced with Karen Middleton, and she decided not to run another term. So that seat was open, and they recruited Rhonda Fields, who we like to call Rap Sheet Rhonda, who years earlier was arrested for grand larceny, but she was never convicted. And another thing she did was, the place where she said was her residence was not her residence. It was her mother's house that she claimed was her residence, because Rhonda Fields was living in Centennial, Colorado, which was well outside the district that she was running in. But that, to this day, that just boggles my mind why the Republicans didn't challenge her on that. But I guess they figured, hey, it's a heavily Democrat district, and there's no way a Republican's going to win that district, so why argue over, a few miles, I don't know, it just really boggles my mind. Alright, and please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that like button. We are up to 3 people watching. Wow. Woohoo! So, Rhonda Fields, she served, I think, 4 terms, and the Senate seat that she's in now was an open seat, so she ran for that. and won that easily. And now she's a state senator, but she supports the death penalty. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to work out in the next couple years. So we got the red flag bill going through. That's going through committee, and I think it's already gone through a couple readings, and I think it's going for a final reading in the House, and then it's set to be voted on. And sadly, I think it's going to pass, and it's going to really screw up things. Yeah, like I said before, you'd have a disgruntled neighbor, or girlfriend, or whatever, and say, hey, there's something wrong with this guy. Better take his guns away. And it could cause you a lot of havoc. And someone pointed out that, you are taking away that person's right to defend themselves and their families for, like up to 12 months it's going to take to resolve this issue. So it is treading on their right to protect themselves. And how about the rights of their family or their children that they're responsible for? So those months without a weapon leaves them vulnerable to a predator, like someone who breaking and entering with a weapon. They could be killed, or their whole family could be killed, and nothing, unless they had a weapon, they could defend themselves. Or what if you're driving along and you're at a gas station or stop line or stop sign, and someone tries to carjack you? Well, then you can't protect yourself there. So it leaves you vulnerable to what's going on. Some other controversial bills now is the sex education bill, which allows teachers to teach kids about homosexual sex and stuff. It's mind-boggling, some of the stuff that they're coming up with, and it's like, it's just not appropriate for teachers to be talking about that, but they disguise it under health safety. It's like, really? Come on. I mean, these are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Why do they need to know about stuff like that? They can't even comprehend what's going on. And then they justify it as, well, it'll prevent bullying. It's like, really? Gotta be kidding me. And another controversial bill is local control. Now they want to give cities and local jurisdictions local control. So it's an end around this last election where people voted no on an amendment to limit the setbacks for gas and oil wells. And now this leaves open to where any municipality could make up their own rules and basically just kill the oil and gas industry here in Colorado. Here in Weld County, in Colorado. They are one of the few counties where they have a budget surplus because they get all of their funding or their revenue from taxes collected from oil and gas. So they're about the only county in the state that's not running deficits. They've got plenty of money. So what they're going to do is the state is going to come in and say, well, you can't have that. And that'll take away their source of revenue and really hurt those communities. So that's just a few of the nonsensical things that Democrats are putting up. Thankfully, the safe injection sites, that didn't come up for a vote. I guess they were getting a lot of heat from organizations, and Democrats decided, we're not going to bring that bill forward. However, that doesn't mean that this thing is done, because they could bring it up next year or the year after if they, hold on to the House and to the Senate. But it will be interesting to see how much money Dudley Brown and his organization will put in to help defeat some of these Democrats that have won. Or are they going to keep backing marginal candidates that have no chance of winning in those districts? I just got a message just before the show. One of my Republican friends who is a Dudley Brown supporter, and I told him, he knew what the topics were going to win, and he's going to say, yeah, you mean like winning? I'm going, yeah, you mean like winning for the Democrats? And then what's his answer? Oh, whatever, Art. What an idiot. And this guy is a former vice chair of the Jefferson County Republican Party. Yeah. I mean, I like the guy. Always get along with him, but some of the people he hangs out with are just total idiots. But, you're probably thinking, well, Art, you're one-sided. You're always... It's like, you know what? To be honest, I've got a lot of Republicans not liking me because I will, call out on guys on the other side of the Republican Party when they say or do something stupid. Sadly, I probably lost a friendship over this because our senator made some really stupid comments which I think are probably cost him his re-election. And I mentioned that on Facebook, and he got all pissed off and said, well, you're going to have to find a new fishing buddy. Okay, whatever, that's how you are, that's really, if that's kind of friend you are, then, it's just, you gotta be open-minded, and you gotta be practical, pragmatic, and you gotta stop backing people that do dumb stuff, say stupid stuff, and expect to win re-election. Yes, Colorado's now a blue state, but if this guy keeps saying the same dumb stuff, he's going to piss off his base, and he's not going to win without him. If he thinks he's going to get the unaffiliates to vote for him, well, he's crazy, because look at what happened in the last election. The unaffiliates broke hard to the left, so he's not going to get those votes. So what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to get volunteers out there, and they're going to have to do what the Democrats did. They're going to have to harvest ballots, go out, make the calls and say, hey, what are these issues important to you, and talk to them. And all we did was we put out a broad message saying, this is why you should vote for us, and that's it. We didn't go that extra mile and go out there and talk to the people, say, how do you feel about gun rights? Do you think the economy is doing well for you? How do you feel about those tax cuts? Or do you have more money in your pocket? How's that helping you out? And point that out, and people might go, hey, you know what? Those are important things, and talk to them and say, and point out, this is why things are going well. If you go this way, it's going to cost you money. You're going to have less money in your pocket. And they didn't do that. And as long as we have this inter-party squabble, the chances for us taking back one of the chambers is not looking that good. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because the last time the Democrats controlled both houses, and they went on their wild spree passing these ridiculous legislation, some of them got recalled, and that might happen again this time around. I think we have to recall about 5 or 6 representatives to get back the House, and if we could recall about 3 senators, we could take back the Senate. All we need to do is just win one of the chambers, and we could slow down or stop this really bad legislation from going through. I'm a little parched here. So I made a few changes to this channel here. I changed the name from my my real name, because I wanted to be a little more secure. Somebody pointed out that a lot of bad things could happen to you if you use your real name out there. You get trolls out there that could come around and steal your identity and really screw your life up. And I go, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. So I changed it to Art's Place, which was always the name of the show. So why not have change the name that reflects what the show is all about. So, and that's what it's all about. I have other channels. I have my drone channel, I have my fishing channel, my cooking channel. But this is where the rubber hits the road, right here on Art's Place. We talk about the heavy stuff, and then we'll talk about culture and other things going on in this country. So, with that being said, let's call it a day. Thank you guys for jumping in, and let's get this show going on. And ring that bell on my channel, and you'll get an instant notification. Thanks for subscribing. Please hit that like button. You guys have a great weekend. Stay warm. It is, let's looking out the window. It is still snowing. Yeah, and it's about 4 degrees outside. It is really cold here, and my feet are just starting to warm up. I had to do a little bit of grocery shopping earlier. So, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you next week here on Art's Place. Have a wonderful week. Oh yeah, we'll talk about global warming. All right. God bless you. God bless America and this great state of Colorado. See you all next week. Bye-bye.